FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know what band we play here on The Dark. Tonight, actually, I'm talking with two members of the band NoMara. Their latest song is called Sellout. On the phone right now, I'm talking with Kelly along with John. And first of all, guys, thanks so much for joining me and welcome to The Dark. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, man. Thanks for having us.
And
I like that liner. Welcome to The Dark, man. That's dope.
You like that, don't you? Hey, you guys are actually calling.
You planned that out, didn't you?
Absolutely. That's why the program's called The Dark. It plays at night. We got to call it something, right? So you guys are both in different locations right now. One of you is in Arkansas, and the other one is Columbus. Is that where you were in Ohio?
Yep. We started this band a few years ago with location, and we just took advantage of technology the way that it is, and we kind of work remotely until it's time to get out to get the business. And like I said, I fly out at like 5 a.m. tomorrow down to Little Rock, and then we head out and start our about a month-long bunch of shows starting in Jackson, Tennessee.
Very cool. Let's start out with you, Kelly. Obviously, lead singer of the band NoMara. Can you give us the history of the band? How did NoMara come all about?
Well, I waited a while until I decided to try to give this music thing a shot, and through a mutual friend, I hooked up with Phil Taylor, of Future Leaders of the World, who was at the time was working with John on their Machina project, and flew on down to Little Rock, and this was pretty probably within a week or so after John had left Evanescence. So I know he had a lot of pent up thoughts, feelings, and emotions he was probably going through, and I got to take advantage of them. And he cranked out some pretty killer songs that was on our first record. But it was more like a demo, I guess, than a record, because I really didn't know what I was doing. I was kind of just getting my toes wet, and John was kind of just at the producer role. I don't think he had any intentions at the time of being like a full-time member of the group. And I didn't have any thoughts like that either. And it wasn't until probably a couple years later when we sat back down and started this second record that we realized that we both had something special. And John kind of came on board, and everything has kind of just been a whirlwind since then.
Very cool. And I'm going to bring in John right now, and I'm not going to make this what bands you used to play in the past and that, but obviously, John, being with the band Evanescence and having the success that they had back in the day, it definitely has helped your career continuing on today. Am I correct on that, John?
I would say, yeah. I mean, of course, obviously it became a household name there for a while, so people identify that immediately. You don't have to say, who's that? You know what I mean? But, as far as riding on coattails of it or anything like that, that's not a reality. I mean, I still have to work just as hard as anybody else to make anything happen. That's just a little bit of a foot in the door for a lot of things, like getting clients in my studio and for songwriting and stuff like that. But as far as putting out music, it's not as big as a help as you would think it is. The
name NoMara. I read a little bit about the history of the name. Who decided to come up with the name, and why did you choose that name? And for the listeners that don't know the history of the name, what's it all mean?
When we were first, it's always hard to find I remember one time talking with John, and we were talking about band names, and just had a general conversation about it. And John was always telling me you shouldn't pick out a band name that somebody can make fun of. So it's really easy to get made fun of with your band name. And I wanted to have wasn't really long, something that preferably something that was one word and actually it had some meaning behind it. And not trying to be clever, and I had just about the same time I was reading, it's kind of wacky, but I was reading this self-help book, and it was talking about sitting down with all your demons, and inviting them to tea and kind of coming to terms with all the negative aspects of your life. And he used the term Mara, and then that got me to look up what Mara meant, and I actually, that's when I learned that it was part of Buddhist and was another name for the devil. And at the time of that first record that we were doing, I was going through some relationship issues, and it might be more than you wanted to hear, but you asked me where the name came from, so you're going to get it. So it was basically learning not to take out your frustrations on your partner, not to make them the evil ones, to try to control your words and not be abusive with them towards the people that you love. So basically, she's not Mara. She's not the fight. The fight is within you. So rather than not Mara, I just condensed it to NoMara, and there you have it.
Very cool. Very
So,
cool.
so it's about just taking personal responsibility and watch how you treat other people.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm cool with the name. And how is the name, I guess, perceived out there in the public eye? I mean, people really liking that name. What is anybody saying anything about it, guys?
I think they do.
It seems like they like it. It's memorable, but getting people to pronounce it right, that's funny. It depends on which part of the country you're in. It's like NoMara.
We got NoMara on the phone.
But, even with Evanescence, it was the same thing. I mean, I'd have people that would come up to me in Best Buy or something about, man, you with that band Effervescence, man, that's awesome. I like that band. They're good. Or Evan's Essence, like it's a dude's essence or something.
I was just going to say.
Or Evanescence even,
I was just going to ask you on that Evanescence, hey, who's the guy Evan in your band?
yeah, exactly. We actually played a place in Louisiana when we were first going. I mean, it was after everything was taken off. We were playing like a state fair kind of thing. And the billboard that they had up for us said, Evan's Essence.
Oh, man. We're talking with John and Kelly. They're with the band NoMara. And the cool thing about this band is you guys are kind of getting going here on a tour here, it sounds like, getting ready to do some touring. And you just currently put out a 5-song EP not too long ago. Talk about that a little bit, guys.
I'm ready to hit the road, man. We've been off for about 2 months, and the rest of us guys are all down here in Arkansas, and Kelly's up there in Ohio, and we haven't played together. And last night we got the 4 of us, the backbone together last night, and it's like we didn't even stop playing, man. We tore it up, dude. We were tight as a drum.
Cool.
We practiced the one time. We're ready to go. We sounded good. And we're like, man, I sure hope Kelly's up to par with us whenever he comes on stage with us.
Well, he's probably on Is he on FaceTime there or Skype kind of singing in the background maybe while you guys are playing?
We don't, man. We don't. It's crazy. When we, those guys down there, our band is really tight. I mean, they're some of the best musicians that I've ever had. I'm lucky because, I haven't played with a whole lot of musicians, but I'm fortunate to have these guys that, we can literally not ever play together. In our first, start off, I think when we went out on tour with Tesla earlier this year, we had maybe 2 days of rehearsals together. And then we'd ever played together, and we went out there and people were like, damn, you guys, well, how long you been together? And I was like, 2 days. So, so we don't really rehearse that much. We prefer to just get out there and let it all out on the stage,
You mentioned, you mentioned Tesla, by the way, too, and you guys got out with them a little bit. That must have been a lot of fun hanging out with those guys, huh?
Yeah, that's the only way to go, man. That's the only way to go. Is trying to get out there with some of the older bands or some of the bands that are established. It's really hard nowadays, being a baby band per se, and getting out there and getting your music heard and being from the radio side of it,
right.
How many bands are out there versus how much you're allowed to play, and
yep.
It's a tight spot to get your music heard, and it's extra tight nowadays to get out there on the road and play in front of people. And it's not necessarily that people don't want to hear your music; it's just no one's promoting it to them, and they're not able to hear it. So, it's hard to go out there and tour on your own and have a crowd show up. So you really need to kind of do your best to get out there with some guys like Tesla, where you can get exposed to fans that still appreciate live music.
Let me ask this question for John, since you were with the band Evanescence and you had some huge exposure once you guys got known out there, and as Kelly was saying here, it's a lot tougher for younger bands to get out there and, for that matter, heard. What is the proper way, it seems, nowadays? Back in the day, it used to be the record label kind of got behind you, but now it seems like it's more independent. How do people get to know bands nowadays?
Man, I wish I knew. It's the whole machine is broken.
Right.
It's a broken thing, and no one has the answer. So, all you can do, I could just go off the words of Dave Grohl. Obviously he had a nice success before that he's able to play out on, but he's a hardworking man, and he gets out there and he does his thing. And, you can go in the studio and cut things over and over and over and do a million takes and try to save them all on Pro Tools, or you can just get in there and rock it out and do it, and then go play your freaking music on the stage. And if people come see you, you can play that good. Whenever they see you, then they're going to come see you again. So, I guess the only secret would be just get out there and play if you can. And I know it's hard because you end up spending more money than you make. It's just really difficult in this day and age to do it. And it's really hard for young bands. So, be willing to spend money, be willing to be hungry, be willing to try to look at the positive side, because the negative side is so large that you can really get overwhelmed with it all. So if you're going to get overwhelmed with it, don't even try.
Right. And, I've talked to over 50-plus bands probably here in the last year or so, and a lot of them are up-and-coming bands. And for you, Kelly, obviously, you're getting out there for the first time. I mean, you've been out there before a little bit, but how have you guys been trying to get yourselves out there a little bit more? What things have you been doing? Obviously, John says you to get out and play, but have you been trying to make, like, these interviews, more contacts with stations? What kind of things are you doing?
Yeah, it's important to have a like-minded team. And I guess, up until recently, and I mean still now, for the most part, I would say that I have been our record label. From trying to make those decisions and the financial contributions to it, and making sure that everything that we do makes sense. Where in the past you could probably be a little bit, haphazard the way you do things. Nowadays, you burn through $100,000 like it was nothing. So it's important to find the right team. From a publicist, someone who can get out there and set up these interviews and they have to believe in your music. And that's the one thing that I think we have is we have a very strong record, and it's very, very playable for radio, and most of the people who hear it like it. So we have been able to surround ourselves with people that have the same goals for this band as we do, and that's to try to make it to the top.
And you just talking about that, Kelly, I can tell passion is in your voice, and I'm sure for John too, and anybody in this business knows if you don't have passion, you're not going to go very far, are you?
Nope.
No, man, this is if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. And I think that's one of the special things that you have to remind yourself is it's a process. It's not an event, and to try to just enjoy, even when it's frustrating, just enjoying that we all have the opportunity, like John says, just to be able to play music every night with our friends, and just really look at the basics of trying to really stay green and humble, and because there really is not a big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow like there was 20 years ago. Like, even if you do get a record deal nowadays, it don't mean crap.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're giving them $1 million or anything like that. You've pretty much had to have already built and invested all the money in building your fan base and putting out the record and building your record for a record label to come along and maybe help you. Just in the past couple of weeks, we joined up with Round 2 Records, which is has Artifice on the label.
Oh yeah.
So we're never really thinking about going with the label, and until they came along, and I think that's definitely going to help us now from having a little bit more financial commitment to help us get to where we need to be and get on the right shows, and get the singles pushed out the radio the way they need to be pushed out.
You mentioned,
and after that, it's just what the people hear and what the people judge for themselves. That's the only thing we want, is for them to at least have a chance to say, I love it or it sucks.
Hey, let me put this out to you. We're talking with John and Kelly from the band NoMara. You mentioned radio. Let's talk about radio just for a second. I feel like a dinosaur in radio. I've been in radio for 25 plus years, so I've seen kind of the different gamuts of it. How tough is it now today for you guys to get played on the radio? I mean, it seems like there's fewer and fewer rock stations out there, and the playlist seems to be shrinking more and more. How tough is it?
It's tough. It's really tough because it's back to the whole pay to play thing. Even though they're not supposed to do that, that's pretty much what it is. I mean, I've learned that even since my days at Evanescence. I did some other things with a band called We Are the Fallen. It was with Universal Republic, and I saw how they did stuff with radio, and I know how it works, man. It's not about I know it is to a small extent about DJs who like your music and just throwing it on the radio, but they usually have guidelines they have to go through, and they can only play what they're told they can play, and those are the ones that the labels are giving incentives to those DJs or those actual radio stations and stuff to play your junk. So you kind of have to, just swallow the pill, man, and be part of that machine and go, okay, well, I guess we have to pay somebody, to go in there and kind of put our music up there and make these people want to play it, because it's not about like the days of Elvis Presley when it's like, man, this dude is awesome, I'm gonna throw this on the radio.
Absolutely.
that's all dead and gone now. I mean, there's a few left. There's a few old schoolers out there that they're going to do what they're going to do regardless of the rules and regulations.
Right here, boy. Right here, brother. We're doing it right
Well,
here.
thank you, sir.
Absolutely. And if you got those numbers of how you get paid more, I'd like those too, by the way. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right?
I'm just kidding. No, I'm seriously. I mean, it's basically me that puts together this 6-hour show that we do on Active Rock, and it's what I want, gets to be on the air, and I don't have anybody telling me to do so. So as long as I'm within
great.
I think it's the same thing with radio as it is with the rock bands. It's because the machine is broke is the reason why it's like that. But there are people like us that are going to do what we do because we love it, and that's why it does translate to the passion that we were just talking about. Because if you come off as not genuine because you aren't genuine, then people are not going to take it seriously. But if you come across as genuine, then you're going to move people. So if we move people with our music, regardless of, however the atmosphere of the industry is, the same thing with you guys, like the DJs, the ones that are actually willing to go that extra mile and actually play music because they like it, which is the point, is it not? It's
Absolutely.
like this. I like this. This makes me feel good. This is what I want people to hear. Not, I'm going to play this even though it's terrible because we'll get more incentives this month or week or whatever.
I 100% agree with you, John. Right on that. We're talking with John and Kelly from the band NoMara. Let's talk about some things. Let's dive into you guys here just for a couple of minutes here. And what would shock me in your music collection, Kelly and John? Let's start with you, Kelly. What's something you might listen to that I'm going, really? Kelly listens to that?
Boy, I tell you what. I mean, I think he'd be embarrassed, but I mean, I'm a big Katy Perry fan and 21 Pilots, and my son. I got a 16-year-old son. He's always bringing these bands that I've never heard of before, and I catch myself listening to them all the time. So more up to date, whatever the kids are listening to. I've always kind of tried to stay hip with what's going on out there, and even in hip hop and. But I'm always going to be an '80s kid. I'm always going to like the '80s band music,
right?
And I think it translates into our songs. I think I love the way how John pulls together the music, and I think my vocals kind of bring that '80s piece in there. But you're not going to find anything too special or too out of the ordinary for me. I don't know. How about you, John?
Oh, I think. You'd be surprised at what I listen to on the majority.
He listens to all kinds of crazy.
I like Dee Antwoord. I love Dee Antwoord.
Okay.
I love Lady Hawk, Kravinsky, Lana Del Rey.
Oh yeah.
Massive Attack. I don't know if I said that one, but then I go back to the old school country like Charlie Daniels and Hank Williams and Waylon Jennings. It just depends on what my mood is for that day, but. I have been leaning a lot more towards like electronic music in the last couple of years, and I don't know. It's just I get it and it calms me, even though sometimes it's really crazy and stressful sounding stuff. But for some reason, it just I don't know. It just puts me at ease, man.
You just like that.
Our road trips are the best, man, because between John's playlist and our bass player Thad, they usually one of those two are usually always up front running the DJ, and I mean we just literally have nonstop genres of music, going 24 hours a day, and it's great, man. There's something about them Arkansas dudes, man. They got together down there. I always made fun of them, but there's some good old boys down there.
In an 8-hour trip, I promise you're gonna hear some Olivia Newton-John. It's just gonna happen.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
You got to get a little physical, don't you?
Yeah.
Gotta do a little physical. I remember spinning that back in the day too. Oh boy, that's bad.
Oh yeah, man. I was in the 3rd grade.
I think I was there too, 3rd and 4th grade. We're probably about the same age then. We're talking with John and also Kelly from the band NoMara. I want to get back to your band in just a moment, but a couple other quick things here. And I don't know if you've even thought about this at all yet, but tour-wise, you guys are going out on a tour here. If there are some other bands that you'd really like to play with, if you had an opportunity to put your 3-band bill together, NoMara along with 2 other bands, and if it could be any band that's currently out there, maybe, who would those bands be?
Papa Roach and Shinedown, and then I think I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, that'd be really. I'd be there in a heartbeat.
So you put that together for us, and.
All right, so I got to contact Jacoby and.
Yep, Jacoby and Brent.
Yep. All right, we'll make that happen. Okay, I'm circling it down here, so I'll
come for free.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Hey, how about this is another question. Current active rock bands are you really digging right now? There's some bands out there that you're really liking right now in active rock? Anybody can take this question.
Artifice. I mean, I've not really been a fan of much of the active rock scene lately, and I just got to know the Artifice guys like a couple months ago.
Yep.
And I really like their new music.
How about you, John?
I don't really listen to the radio that much, man.
Okay.
I'm not really impressed by a whole hell of a lot that's going on out there because everybody and not to say that 3 Days Grace is bad, but everybody sounds like them now. And I just get so sick of hearing the same regurgitated stuff. Particular band that I really like the people in the band, and I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm a producer as well and a songwriter for clients and stuff. And whenever I'm writing lyrics or helping write lyrics, there are certain key lyrics that you don't use or you try to not use, like lie, try, life. There's certain words that are so easy to throw into a song, and there's basically a list of them, but I don't know if anyone has ever written the list down. And you just know. But then I heard this song by this particular artist, and mind you, the song is crafted very well, and I get it, but they use every one of those words in the chorus. Every one of them.
Wow.
Which one is it, Don? Tell us. You're killing us.
I can't say who it is, man, because I like to be. But I couldn't believe it. I was like, are they really doing this? Actually, it's kind of genius, but at the same time, it makes my head want to explode.
Well, Kelly, now you got something to pick his brain on until he finally tells you who it is.
I'm going to find out. As soon as
I'll
we
tell
hang
you
up,
tomorrow. I'll tell you tomorrow.
Right.
We'll YouTube it, man. You'll see.
Absolutely.
I couldn't believe it, man.
Wow.
But I think that's NoMara. I think when you listen to our music, that's the one thing that I think we're proud of is our music does not sound like Pop Evil and everybody else is Breaking Benjamin. We're not trying to sound like them. We have our own sound, and I think it's unique, and I think that every one of our songs is different, too. So they're not, we have one really good song and then 3 other ones that sound a lot like it.
Have you guys actually heard your songs, NoMara songs, on the radio yet?
I have not.
Okay.
Not on purpose I have, but I mean when I knew something was going to happen, but not just driving down the road and it just popped on there.
Okay. So not like, John, you hear an Evanescence song, you're like, okay, I remember playing that or whatever back in the day. So, I mean, you haven't heard that yet.
No,
not yet. No. Sellout's just, Sellout's kind of the first one that we've kind of put some effort behind. And, and it's moving up. I hope to see it, break into that top 40 hopefully within the next few weeks. We just got to get people out there pushing the songs, and hopefully guys like yourself that take an interest enough to at least invite us to come on and talk.
Absolutely. Well, I guess my question lead into that was basically going to be, what is it going to mean to you when you hear your song on the radio? What does it mean? And for John, obviously he's heard some of his music on the radio before. What does it mean when you hear your song on the radio?
It means the blood rushes from every other part of your body to one particular part of your body, if you know what I mean. It means a BMI radio check. Oh my God, that's amazing. No, it's definitely it's very it's very defining. It's like finally, it's probably one of the best feelings in the world because it's there for the right reasons, because it's doing well. That means you're doing something right, and you are translating those things that you want to get to the audience and to the listening audience. And, music is supposed to change people's lives, man. So if you let them hear your songs and they want to hear it, that means you're doing something right, man. It's a good feeling.
Absolutely. I don't see you guys. I'm just looking at the Under the Radar chart that came out last week, which I do report on. You're not yet in the top 50, but I bet you're going to be there very shortly, if not in the next week or so.
I think within the next couple of weeks, hopefully it'll start popping in there.
Hey, here's one question I love asking, and I know I don't have much time left for you guys because you got to get going here, but for both of you, think about this question. What artist would you like to cover one of your songs? So you have a NoMara song. What artist out there today would you like to cover one of your songs? And I'll start with you, Kelly, first.
Start with John.
Okay. Motley Crue.
That's what I was going to say. Motley Crue. Yeah. We would want them to cover one of our songs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have to be a band like the Crue or one of the ones that got a little bit of balls behind them. Nowadays, when they do cover songs, it seems like they try to spin them into like hip-hop version.
Well, all right. I'm going to call Nikki Sixx here and see if we can get him to get on there and do that for you. How's that?
Yeah. We're trying to we want those. We want to attract those all those '80s rockers out there that still go to shows and buy music and still know what it's like, right? And they know that you have to go see this music live to understand.
Right.
And we want them to bring their kids and get out to these shows, because if they don't do it, this is all going to die. It's all, the industry's at a shambles right now, but it's between us bands that still got the heart to keep on doing it, even though there's not that big payday, but we're still going to put out great music and we're still going to hit the road. But everybody has to do their part.
Absolutely.
So the fans have got to get out there and support.
Anyways, I got a meeting right now. So
all right, John, we appreciate your time.
But I appreciate your time, man. I'm sorry I scheduled before something I had to do. But
hey, thanks so much for taking the time for us, John. I'll just finish up with Kelly here, and then we'll wrap things up. Okay.
Right on.
All right, man.
Best of luck to you, John. Yep.
All right.
Once again, we're talking with John, also with Kelly from NoMara, and we got Kelly now just on the line here. I'll just add a couple other things, and I want to get into the band here a little bit more. NoMara, I know we've kind of tracked away from that and some of the personal likes in that. Let's talk about this current song, "Sell Out." What's the story behind this song?
Well, it's really kind of self-explanatory if you listen to the words. It's kind of about, there's a place in my life that I stuck with chasing the dream of rock and roll and being in a band and holding on to those beliefs that it's something that is possible to do no matter what age you are. And it translates over to any dreams that somebody might have, that you come to a point where you start to notice that you're different from all your friends because they've basically checked out of the game, and there's a lot of them that do that. When I talk to them on the phone, we're having the same conversation that we've had for the last 5-10 years. They're stuck in the same spot. They're complaining about their jobs. They're complaining about their lives. They're complaining about their relationships. And, that's a choice that you make every single day.
Right.
And I choose to not sell out. I'll choose to take the harder path, whichever one it is, whether it be music or my other, things that I do in my life. But I've been fortunate enough to stick with, those fundamental dreams that I had in the beginning and see them through. So that's kind of what Sell Out's about.
Very cool. And Kelly, and unfortunately John's not on the line anymore, but actually this might be a good time to ask you too. What is it like having a guy like John in the band who has had some success at a higher level? How has that helped your band?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's an incredible confidence builder for me because, coming in really wet behind the ears, you're always, especially as a singer, I'm the type of guy, I'll always be second guessing. I'm my worst critic. And, to have John, the day that I think, I'd always joked around with John over the past few years about, hey, if the time ever comes and the music ends up panning out, would you ever consider, being part of the band? And he would always be gracious and say, yeah, but I don't think either one of us ever thought that would happen.
Right.
And then when this these new songs started being born between the two of us, he finally latched on to it. And when he did, it was incredibly important for me. And every night when we're playing, I'll be singing, and sometimes I'll even lose my place in the song because I'll just look over and watch him, and just be like, God, and I was like, I can't believe that it's come this far, and that it's really just starting.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it feels like we've been doing it forever, and there's been it's hard as hell out there doing that, but we still love it, and we still want to do it as much as we can. But we still hope that it's just the beginning.
Absolutely. And touring is what you guys are going to be doing now here for the next couple of months. Anything up here in the Minnesota area at all?
Oh no, I want to get up there so bad because I really think that's where Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Yep.
That's where we're getting a lot of. The most seems like we're getting a lot of fans from up there and a lot of people that wants to come up there. So it sucks that we're probably going to end up having to come up there in the middle of a snowstorm. But, I don't know quite yet. I know there's some talks about some things in December.
Right.
That could push us up that way. I don't know, but I know we try to just because touring is so expensive.
Right.
It's we try to just go out for a few weeks at a time. And we try to make sense of the markets that we're playing in. And now that the song's going to radio, we'll definitely, the surrounding, the stations that are playing us, and that where there's fans, those are going to be the places that we're going to hit the most.
Absolutely.
So we definitely, got to get up there to you guys for sure, and come in and maybe play a couple acoustic songs and just hang out and be buddies for the next couple of years.
We'd love that. We'd love that. Hey, let's find out more information about NoMara for the fans out there listening. How can they get more information, your music, all that stuff?
I would say the best way is just Facebook. We try to do a little bit of Twitter, Instagram, but not much. If you just go to just NoMara, NoMara Music on Facebook, and we have a 5-song EP that is that's out in hard copy. But what we're doing for the rest of the year, and if you look on our Facebook page, if you just give us a like on that page, you can download through SoundCloud those 5 songs, and then if you attend any of our shows between now and the end of the year, we're giving away the hard copy of the EP.
Awesome. Hey,
and the record's about done. We'll probably get it released sometime in the first quarter.
I was just going to ask, when is that going to be released? Is it first quarter of 2016 then?
Yep. That's what we're kind of thinking. We're just going with the flow, with depending on where the industry's at and what the response is, and the last thing we want to do is just throw it out there nowadays, because
Right.
then it's outdated. The minute it hits the scene, so it's the last thing we want to do is that. But we feel like we have 12, 13 songs that are, if they like the first 5 on that EP, you're going to love the rest of them, because they're all equally as strong, and I think they're all radio worthy, and there's no throwaways, and it's something that we put for probably a good 4 years into. I guess when you look at from when we first started the second record.
Awesome. Well, speaking of radio play, we're going to play your latest song, Sell Out, right now. Sound great?
I love it.
Awesome. Kelly.
I wish I was up there.
Thanks so much for joining us. Say hi to John against too, and have a safe travels down to Arkansas, and enjoy the touring here for the next couple of months.
Thank you.
Once again, that is Kelly along with John there from the band NoMara. You want to hear their latest song? It's called Sell Out. You're hearing it right now on FM 94's The Dark.